Hey kids, in our previous video we talked about all the features and gizmos and doodads on the new KelTec P15. I'll be honest, I like what this gun has to offer at the price it has to offer it. But, and there's always a big but, I was concerned about jumping in on a new KelTec gun immediately after its release. For years, I've heard the horror stories about brand new guns from KelTec. However, over the last 5 years or so, they seem to have improved in that area of quality control a lot. So I thought it was worth a gamble, especially if I could ditch carrying my 2-pound CZ82. Before we get into that, I want to make a small correction from my previous video. I said that the rear sight is adjustable for windage and elevation. That is incorrect. It is only adjustable for elevation. Okay, so let me take it apart so I can show you. This screw on the side that was loose when I got it looks like it would adjust the sights left and right, but it doesn't. So if we take this screw out, this screw only holds the sight into this block here. So if we pop the sight out, we'll see that it's not really adjustable for elevation. It's just a clean hole right through there, but it is adjustable for elevation. We got a set screw here that we can change, and a spring here that's pushing the back of the sight up. And we can see here there's this little plunger, this little rod here that is spring loaded, and it's constantly pushing the sight block away from this side of the slide towards this side of the slide. So the sight should stay fairly well in place, only adjustable for elevation. Though I will say it is nice to have this elevation adjustment, and I have used it. Hey, I also forgot to mention one other feature of the gun. Now I did point out the loaded chamber indicator right here, but I forgot to mention this little window right here that's in the side of the chamber that will show you whatever round is currently there in the chamber. And don't freak out, please, this is just an empty case. So now let's talk about my experiences using the gun. Now, I'm sorry if this is going to be really boring, but this is a bit complicated. To start off with, I had some major problems disassembling and reassembling the gun. I had one issue that is easily fixable. Because the magazine safety disconnect, you need to put the mag in the gun so you can pull the trigger to release the striker, and then you can start disassembling the gun. Well, it turns out it's super hard / impossible to remove or insert the slide stop while the mag is still in the gun. Duh, because the magazine and magazine follower are in the way. So this is one simple thing that you just need to be aware of with this gun or any other gun with a magazine safety, and I feel really dumb. The next issue was that I had a difficult time getting the slide back onto the gun. So this recoil guide rod here, of course, has a right way and a wrong way to go in. The end with the screw on it goes out the front of the gun, and the end with this conical hole goes in the back of the gun so that it fits into this little pointy bit here on the chassis. Well, for some reason or another, if this guide rod is not perfectly straight when you're trying to reassemble the gun, it seems to get stuck on some part here inside the frame, and it won't fully seat, which means that you can't pull the slide back far enough to reassemble it properly. And literally, as I'm making this video, KelTec has just released their quick start guide video on this gun. And Chad Chadlington mentions that you need to push up on the recoil spring as you put the slide back on. And that does seem to solve the issue. Basically, it looks like that you just hold your thumb right here. That seems to solve that issue, and I wish that had been in the manual. So these were two easily fixable issues that took me way too long to figure out. Unfortunately, there's more. So in attempting to disassemble the gun, sometimes, or fairly often, something strange happens. The slide doesn't seem to want to come off. You can see it's stuck here. Now, as far as I can tell, the sear is getting stuck somehow on the striker safety. FYI, here is the sear right here, and this bit right here is the striker safety. As you can see, it does stick out a bit. So you should be able to see, as I'm trying to pull the slide forward, you can see the sear popping out right there from the back of the slide, right here. And it's not, the slide isn't coming off. So I figured out how to fix this is basically by feathering the trigger a little bit It seems to work it free somehow. Basically, the slide will not come off smoothly off the front of the gun for me. Something is not right here. Another very weird problem was that with the slide stop out and with the magazine out, while reassembling the gun, sometimes I'll put it back here and then the slide gets stuck. The slide is stuck open with nothing to hold it open. So how the heck is that happening? Right now, if we take a look, so you can see right here, that little silver bit, the striker safety, is getting caught here on the back of the frame, which is polymer, and I think it's wearing down the polymer, and it's becoming less of an issue. But it's also sometimes getting stuck a bit further ahead of that, I think also on the sear again. So clearly, that's not right. So having these problems just taking the gun apart and then putting it back together again made me think that one of two things were happening. First, something is wrong with this gun, which is possible. I know the new KelTec gun horror stories. The other thing I was hoping for was that this gun just needs to be loosened up a bit and have some rounds put through it. So it was off to the range. So here's what happened. I started off with the first mag through the gun. It is in mode 2 with both safeties turned off. It was going fairly well until I had one round not quite go into battery. So I'm shooting a mix of 115 grain ammo, both brass and aluminum cased. Probably about 5 different brands here. I was expecting to experience a few minor hiccups in a new gun, so I wasn't too freaked out yet. The gun was also grouping well, but it was shooting a bit low. The recoil was not as bad as I was expecting. I wouldn't say that it's snappy, but I would say it's rather stout. Because of that, I put the backstrap thing on the grip. However, because I knew the grip safety was disabled, I did not put the grip safety extension button thing so that it would stick out the back of the backstrap. This is important, and it will come into play later in the story. So we get to the second mag. First round, no problem. Second round, nothing. I pop the round out and see that it had a light strike. I start again. One more good round, then another light strike. This kept going on like this every other round firing until it stopped firing altogether. So in that 15-round magazine, I ended up with 10 light strikes on all different kinds of ammo. And in case you're saying that my ammo is totally crap, right after this, I went and fired all 10 light strike rounds straight through my Walther P5 with 0 issues. So I thought maybe it would be a good idea to disassemble the gun and see if there was some sort of visible internal problem. There wasn't. At least, not until I tried to put the slide back on, and it got stuck in the same manner as I described previously. But it was super totally stuck, and despite how much I tried wrestling with it at the range, I could not get it free. So eventually I gave up and returned home very dejected. Hours later, after I got home and after messing around with this a bunch, I was finally able to free the slide. The recoil spring was stuck and caught somehow on something. It seems totally fine now, except I have no idea why I was getting those light strikes. But after some more sleuthing, I made a discovery. Mode 2 should have deactivated both the magazine safety and the grip safety. But for some reason, the grip safety, even though it's mostly retracted, is still active. So if I put this gun back in mode 1, normally when one of these safeties prevents the gun from firing, so in this case I have the magazine out, but I'll depress the grip safety, nothing should happen. The sear should just stay there and the trigger will just do nothing. So basically nothing is happening as nothing should. But when we've got the gun in position 2 and the grip safety should be disabled, if I don't press the grip safety in, the sear will do this. It pops. So that pop noise is the sear jumping just slightly, and that is not supposed to happen. The sear should either smoothly move up and down or do nothing. This popping in between is not good. So if I have the backstrap here on the gun, I can't depress the grip safety, at least not very reliably. That might explain why the gun wasn't firing reliably after I put the backstrap on. And because the sear is actually just kind of going pop, it could be interacting with the striker just enough to cause a light indentation on the primer, and that could be the issue. So to test out that theory, I took it back to the range, but this time I started it off in mode 3. That is with the mag safety off and the grip safety on. So you can see I have the back strap and the grip safety extender installed. It went well, except for one light strike. This was better than the last time when it stopped firing completely, but I figured I might be onto something. So I started a second mag, and it went through flawlessly, to which I was pleasantly surprised. Maybe this whole thing was just a breaking in problem after all. Since things were going so well, I went ahead and tested my Daewoo Lionheart mag, and 5 rounds went through that with no problems. Pretty wild. But I realized I needed to test mode 2 again with both of the safeties off. So I uninstalled the grip safety extension button, but I kept the back strap on. In mode 2, the gun should fire without the grip safety being depressed. But it doesn't. The gun won't fire, it will only give me light strikes. So I put the gun into mode 1 with both safeties turned on to test that out. The mag had only 4 or 5 rounds in it, and I got one light strike, which I then put back in the gun, and it fired just fine. So, back home again to do some super sleuthing. I've discovered that for some reason, mode 2 doesn't work on my gun. It's supposed to disconnect both safeties, and it doesn't, and I don't know why that is. I thought I had hit on the real problem and the reason why I was getting the light strikes. When the sear goes pop, maybe that's causing the striker to hesitantly move forward and put a little dimple in the primer. And while this may be the problem while shooting the gun in mode 2, I also had light strikes while the gun was in mode 1 and mode 3, just not nearly as often. So as far as I can tell, there are multiple issues with this specific gun that I purchased. Somehow, the striker safety is causing problems, getting caught on the sear somehow, which is manifesting in a couple of different ways, as I've described. Second, the safety mechanism is not working as intended for who knows what reason. And lastly, I keep getting light strikes in all 3 modes. As much as I'd like to, I can't currently rely on my P15 given these issues, so clearly this gun needs to go back to KelTec for repair. Now, I can say a few things about shooting the gun, however, when it's not being testy. The texture on the grip is extremely aggressive, which is great for a gun like this. However, after only 1 magazine of shooting it, my soft, delicate hands had had enough, and I had to put on my Harbor Freight work glove of sadness to keep shooting it. After which, I had a good time. Now, having a long slide but a short frame is a great idea for a concealed carry gun, as the grip is the hardest part to conceal, not the slide. However, this produces the unfortunate side effect of having a fairly strong muzzle flip, since the barrel is long and you don't have a lot of grip to control it with. However, the sights are nice and the gun is very accurate, at least as accurate as I can shoot it, which is, not great. I'm super out of shape and badly out of practice. I mean, holy wet noodle arms, Batman. But with some rapid fire at, 7 yards or so, I can keep all the rounds in this circle, which is, 6 inches or something. I'm pretty happy with that level of accuracy, though I could clearly be doing better. So if the gun were functioning correctly, for $355, I would be carrying the crap out of this thing. But unfortunately, that is not the place we're at right now. So to wrap this up, do I regret buying this gun? Not yet. KelTec service is known to be very good, and I'm confident they're going to make it right eventually. I can only hope that this is an early QC issue that will be ironed out soon, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I will update all of you when I have more to tell. So stay safe, have fun, kids. We'll see you next time.